Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome Cristina and Carlo and Paola Perozzo for
Thank
this
you.
afternoon lecture. We are very thrilled to see the next part of the many things that we we get through this morning, really. So I leave the presentation to Elisa and
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So we can continue with the maritime archaeology. Now we have the presentation of Carlo Beltrame, Associate Professor of Maritime Archaeology at Foscari University, Cristina Barbiani, welcome, and also Paola Perozzo, two new research fellows at Foscari University, and part of the team of underwater archaeology. They are an innovative multidisciplinary research team, and now they present the digital exhibition of the archaeological investigation of the brig Mercurio, a brig of the Regno Italico, sunk during the Battle of Grado in 1812. And about this project, Carlo has published several editions during the years, but also very recently, and available also in English. So let's start with the presentation. And okay, Cristina, Carlo, and Paola, when you're ready, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Elisa. So good afternoon to everyone. I want to introduce Paola and Cristina, who, as I told you this morning, are a research fellow for the European project I am coordinating. But what they will show you soon is a project of a permanent exhibition in the Museum of Carle, which was contracted to the university and to them by the Polo Museale del Veneto under the direction of the director Ferrara and Anna Larese, who was the director of the Museum of Carle. This very interesting and important experience for me in the exhibition in general, but in particular in the digital exhibition, allow me to work with them, and so to have my first experience in this kind of way to propose, to disseminate the archaeological stories to the public. This exhibition will be explained soon by them, and what I want to tell you is only a small introduction about the project, about the story of this excavation, which the story of this project began as a chance in the 2001 when some a fishing boat fished literally a piece of artillery off Lignano Sabbiadoro, Punta Tagliamento. After this discovery, the archaeological superintendency of Veneto decided to call me and my colleague Dario Gaddi for a quick survey, and then we soon organized a campaign, we can say rescue campaign, to work on what appear immediately as a shipwreck of a modern ship vessel, which was the Mercurio. The Mercurio is a brig which participated in a battle, the so-called Battle of Grado, fighted between an English squadron and an Italic French squadron. The Italic French squadron moved the 21st February of 1812 from the harbor of Venice to a mission, not clear mission. We don't know exactly which was the purpose of a mission. The squadron was composed, the Italic-French squadron was composed by a vessel, the Rivoli, and 3 brigs escorting it. One was the Mercurio, while the English squadron was composed by 1 vessel and only one brig. So after the Italic-French squadron exited from the harbor of Malamocco, it was soon linked by the English squadron, which engaged a fighting. In particular, the first part of this fighting was between the English brig Weasel and the Mercurio. This fighting lasted a few minutes, probably 40 minutes, because the Mercurio exploded. The cause of this explosion probably was a very lucky situation, so probably a shoot, a ball, an iron ball shooted on the powder magazine of the ship, and so the ship exploded and sank immediately, of course. So this story, which is told by the Italian, by the French, and by the English written sources, can now be better explained by the archaeological investigation. The archaeological investigation, which can explore many aspects of the war on the sea in the Napoleonic period, of the life aboard the military ship of this period, of uniforms, arms they used, of the technology of shipbuilding of that period, because we had the possibility also to work on a part of the hull of the ship, which we left underwater because of problems of conservation and also economical reasons. So this was one of the very first projects of excavation on a modern shipwreck in Italy, and one of the few in the Mediterranean. We can say that this is a very lucky shipwreck, especially for the high level of conservation of the finds, both in quantity and also in the quality of the conservation, because we have found many objects in organic material, like many liver objects, shoes, etc. We found many osteological finds. So it's a context important for historical reasons, but also because it's very well preserved. We have excavated it not only in the 2001, but also from the 2004 till the 2011, as from the 2004 as an academic project which I conducted, directed by myself for many reasons. I think we can say that this is I am proud to say that this is a real project, starting from the excavation, which was carried out according to a series of historical questions, and so stopped not only for economical reasons, but also because the majority of the questions we had received an answer, or had no reasonable possibilities to have answers continuing the excavation. So it's a project of starting from excavation, continuing with documentation of the objects and the study of the objects in the laboratory. A study which had to be coordinated with the collaboration of many experts working on the arms, on the pottery, on the skeleton remains, on the historical, on the written sources, etc., etc., and involving also archaeologists, historians, but also archaeometrists. And going on to the important aspects for underwater archaeology, which is the conservation of the objects. Of course, we had many problems of conservation, especially with organic material, but also with iron objects, which often need important treatments, which sometimes are also very expensive. And so after the conservation, we arrived we proposed many various activities of dissemination to the public, to the students, to the childs, with books for childs, videos for the schools, a pair of small exhibitions in Grado and in Lignano Sabbiadoro, and to arrive to the academic publications of scientific articles, and finally this year of a book which collect the contributes of the various collaborators to the project, and which is the final publication of this excavation. But the very final step of a project of maritime archaeology is, of course, the permanent exhibition, which is something which not often, it is not often possible for many reasons. So I think I have been very lucky in this sense. I had a great opportunity to work for the permanent exhibition of my excavation, my most important project and most important excavation. So what we will see now is the final product of this exhibition, which is, I think it's a quite original way to exhibit, to tell a story of shipwreck, a story of a battle fighted in the upper Adriatic Sea, with both the finds which are exposed in the museum in a very traditional way, but also with some one-to-one scale reconstructions, which are not a very new proposal, but I think still important proposal if they are philological. So they are proposed as following what is the archaeological evidence and the historical documentation. But especially it is original because of the various digital and media products that Cristina and Paola now will show you. So enjoy the presentation, and please enjoy the visit to this interesting museum, which unfortunately we couldn't organize during this summer, but in the next days should be open again, and so probably you will be able to visit soon, going to Carlo. Thank you.
Good. I can start to share my screen because I will show you some images. I hope that the quality of the connection, it will be enough to let you see at least some small parts of the videos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see also the presentation now, right?
Yeah. Perfect, perfect. Switch on, switch off is still something that is in 2020.
Yeah, unfortunately, also connection are really bad sometimes. Anyway,
yeah,
we are
perfect. We can see your screen
finally
and the full screen of your exhibition.
Okay.
Thank you, Cristina.
Good afternoon to everyone. So we are finally able to start, and thank you for inviting me. And as Carlo Beltrame said, I will try to lead you through the construction of the exhibition, the permanent exhibition in the Museum of Caorle that how you learn is dedicated to the wreck of the brigantine Mercurio. And that was part, as you have learned, of the Napoleonic crew. And I want just to underline again that the sunk was happening in front of the town of Grado in the North Adriatic. And after a very quick battle, as Carlos said, the brig exploded because probably was hit by a gun directly in the gunpowder deposit. And this was really, as it seems, a very dramatic event. I'm just making a very, very small introduction because I was trying to pose to myself the question that I think is at the base of this summer school. Why are we digitizing multimedia content of our heritage? And so I try to tell the story of this museum, trying also to answer to this question. And for me, one of the main reasons why people usually are more engaged and involved visiting a museum is because as we can see also from this image, most of the people, what they do when they visit a museum is taking pictures. And why do they do that if they can easily collect a lot of images of artworks and cultural heritage online and on the internet? And my answer is that one of the reasons is because people usually want to create a personal experience with that picture. This means that the level of involvement of the audience is basically going through the catching of an experience that they can live going through a real museum, and not only because they are watching to the real artwork. But going straight to our example, what you see in this image is a picture that is preserved in a British museum that it seems that is exactly the moment of the explosion, the brig Mercurio. And why I start from this image? Because when a multimedia and installation designer like me need to decide which is the starting point to design a museum, or also to design the storyboard for storytelling. This event was for me and also for all my colleagues. We were a very big group of people working on this project. Was an incredible opportunity to involve the audience. This is why this main event, the explosion, immediately became also the beginning point that was able to conduct us in the construction of the museum. This is because this dramatic event was suggesting that probably the moment that we could use as a starting point was not something that had to do with the chronological we decided to start excavation. We decided to start from the event of the explosion to catch some element, red dots, through the in order to have a sort of conduction through the space that was not only the rooms like affection, one sort of affection, made a sort of affection not only with the story, so to catch empathy, find objects that could be a sort of guide through the exhibition. But how could we do that? Sometimes we need to learn tricks from other methods, from other research fields. For instance, animation and film industry or gaming industry gives us the tools that can let us realize very realistic reconstruction. I just want to underline this element of creativity. Clearly, when you take tools that belongs to different fields, you have to understand that it's not a direct transfer. So what we tried to do was to have a creative use of technology. And what we tried to transfer was the feeling that, for example, create a lot of involvement in the game engine, like software like Unreal Engine, real-time rendering that are usually used for video games. And we worked with the idea to recreate a very photorealistic reconstruction. I'm not going deeper about this topic because my colleague Paola will explain you better in which way and in how many different ways you can use this kind of tools, not only for reconstruction that are the result of 3D modeling software and then the transferring from the 3D modeling to the real-time engine, but also for the creation of user interface like touch screens and other exhibition that we did in the museum and that Paola will show you. Beside that, I was talking about this idea to find objects that could be sort of action point for the audience. And one of these objects for us was the carronade. And we decided to create the main storytelling, starting exactly from the point in which during the battle, after the explosion, the carronade was sinking into the bottom of the sea. And this is a decision that we have made for two reasons. One, because the storytelling is the main exhibit that you can find when you get into the museum. The first object that you meet is exactly the carronade in real. So you can pass by the object and see how it's done. And then immediately after, you can get into the small room where the storytelling is shown. As you can see, the moment you see the carronade that is falling down, and that's the moment of the battle. But right after, you go back in the time, and you can see that the object is 2 centuries after found from the sailor ship, as Carlo was explaining before. And from there, we started to go back again and try to create the environment and the story that was explaining all the process that conducted to the creation, to the realization and the construction of the brig, and also to a lot of different elements about strategic way of transporting the boat out of the laguna, and also technical issues like the possibility to elevate. I'm jumping a little bit because the video it's a little bit too long for this speech, so I hope to show you in full, but I hope completely. This video, what we were trying to explain with this video was also, as I was saying, complex system, quite complex system of the laguna, the boats, and that happened, and how the Mercurio was joining the rest of the crew, and then moments like the one that you see at the moment. To elevate out of the laguna, or moments that, oh, sorry, that that in order to explain in order to understand what to go through, that was not easy to tell in other ways than with animation and reconstruction, like in the brig, and their story and personal belongings that were found in the excavation. And after this, this video is beginning the exhibition. As you can see in these images, we alternated different kinds of communication. Some of these images, for example, like this one, you can see the boat in the photorealistic reconstruction that was used for the storytelling. But also the photorealistic reconstruction was for an installation that Paola will explain you, that was, as I said, used with the real engine softwares in order to get a level of interactivity to be able to explore better the 3D model with the touch surface. So all the projects that we did, we tried to use them in different ways, not only for the storytelling, but also for the installation that we created in the museum. I want to just underline again the power of the narrative in this kind of situation. As I told you, one of the main underlying object was carronade. So you could see the first one in the beginning of the museum. Then you could have explain all the details of the story through the narration of the history of the brig. And then you can actually, when the museum will be open again, you can see the carronade in the reproduction one-to-one in wood that was done of a part of the brig. The carronade that you see on the left is the second one that was found in the excavation, and the other one on the right is a reproduction that was done for description and explanation of the use of the carronade. It's a toy. It's not a real one. It's really similar, but it's done for educational purposes and to let children and school people to learn how is the movement of the carronade when it has to be charged and then fired. But then, as you can see in the image, there is also a wooden plate that is not a drawing. It's a sort of screen where you can find another animation that can, in very few seconds, like 30 seconds, explain a lot of details, very sophisticated and absolutely checked and controlled by the group of historians and experts that were following the 3D reconstruction. And the decision that we have made was to have this kind of natural interface, so to have a surface that was not glossy, not cold like a touch screen. And in this screen you could have I added some screenshots because I was not sure if the connection was good enough to let you see the video, but I will try, because it's the interesting part that you have a narration, even in this case, that tells you some details that you can check that are on the object, like there it was produced and information about, for example, the different objects that you need to use in order to charge the carronade. And as you can see, in a multimedia installation, it's really easy to give different kind of media, like very detailed drawings that archaeologists knows very better, very good, because they are the drawings that usually are done when you have to describe an object metrically pertinent, and also the images that we could do with the photogrammetry, and the creation of this 3D animation that can explain in just 20 seconds a very complex process that came out from all the documents that the experts were transferring to the 3D artist that created the animation. So this is one of the example, and the second example that I will show you is another object that we selected between the incredible amount of objects that you can see in the museum. And what I want to underline again is the ability of these objects to create installations that are immersive, because you are doing and having a different level of information at the same time, the real object, the animation, and also the possibility to touch and interact. And also in this case, the possibility that we try to recreate because of the type of the object, that in this case was a pistol, was a musketron, that maybe some archaeologists can recognize from the image on the left. Most of us that are not archaeologists are quite unreadable images and objects, but then after the cleaning, after the restoration, there was the object that you can see at the bottom on the right. But anyway, even in that case, we realized that the most important thing that we could do was to try to, from that, rebuild what was the pistol in origin, and try to explain, even in this case, how it was working, the charging and the firing of the pistol. So what we decided to do in this case was to create an interaction that is more analogical. So it comes from a very digital and complex process, but it ends in an analogical product that is the 3D physical reproduction that you see on the top of the image, and that's the pistol when it's restored and dried. And on the bottom, you can see the digital reconstruction that was needed for the video animation that we did even in this case. But beside the animation that was even in this case explaining how it was possible, as I said, to put the powder in the gun, and then how to clean the mouth of the gun, and a lot of other details. What we wanted to create in this case was a physical contact with the object. So what you are watching now is an animation that is made with a video projector. You can see white shape on the right, because in this case, we used the video projector as a double instrument. On the left of the exhibit, it was used to show the video animation. On the right, it was used like a smart source of light. So as you can see in this image, the same projector was playing the video. Even in this case, was a black wooden top of an exhibit. But on the right, it was enlightening the object and focusing on different parts of the object in order to explain what was shown in the video on the left. And yeah, the last exhibit, I'm not going in the order of the exhibition in the museum. This one that you can see is actually the second exhibit that you can visit after you come out from the introductive storytelling. Is another mixed media exhibit. This is the best way that I can explain it, because even this one is the result of a lot of different technologies, but at the end, the object, it's a very physical and natural kind of interface. As you can see, is something flat on the floor. It's a reproduction of the excavation site, and this exhibit has really a lot of different purposes. First is to show exactly the position of the excavation related to the shape of the boat. But first of all, we decided, especially with Carlo Beltrame, to explain for the audience that was not expert in terms of maritime archaeology, how it works, the campaign. So we decided to project on top of this object that was a 3D shape realized with a CNC numerical controlled machine, the 3D surface that was realized based on the photogrammetric survey, and it was projected with the projection that was telling the story of the excavation through the time. What you see on the bottom is a timeline that says when all the different squares were excavated, and also the animation were trying to explain all the different types of survey and also different type of excavation. So it was beginning from the laser and the sonar survey in the beginning, and then it shifted to the photogrammetry with black and white pictures in the first campaign, and then it went to the more recent colored survey that was the base in order to create the reconstruction of the 3D site. Even in this case, the 3D sites, the 3D model was used for this exhibition, but also to create then the virtual reality museum that is possible to use in the museum, that lets you it was looking like and see how it was looking like the excavation at the time. I'm more to what are now telling about was the process of digital reconstruction, creation of the mesh in order to have the 3D model, and then the realization of. I think I was trying to be in the beginning, but I was trying to be more synthetic as possible, in other explanation, also because I really would like you to find the opportunity to see the museum. These are just 3 of the installation. Now Paola will let you see a couple of others that we did, but yeah, the most important thing was I'm still sharing.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm blocked. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sì.
Now I see a frozen screen. I don't know if
We see you and we hear you.
I was able to close the sharing.
Okay. So I share my...
I'm sorry, but it was a really bad connection. Paola, you can touch the...
Okay. Okay. I share my screen. Do you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Not yet? Yeah.
Okay. So as Professor Beltrame and Cristina says, oh, maybe it's better if I switch off my camera, maybe, so for the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And as Professor Beltrame and Cristina said before, I was part of the team that took care of the digital exhibit in the Museum of Carle. I will show you in particular 3 exhibition installations. The first one is here on the left, is a screen with a loop video that explain the reconstruction of the brig Mercurio from the wreck to the 3D model, the reconstruction model. And the second one is this touch screen with the reconstruction of the Mercurio, and visitors can play with it, touching the screen and turn the model all around. And with these 3 buttons here, visitors can change the visualization of the model in realistic environment and realistic materials, the white model, and visitors can also zoom the hull just to see all the details. The third installation is the interactive Rollino di Bordo. Rollino di Bordo was a document, a book, where all the members of the crew were registered. So visitors can touch this touch screen and click and drag to turn pages. And then by clicking some user interface buttons, they can zoom and see all the details of the pages. So let's go with the first installation, that is the reconstruction of the brig Mercurio. I have a video to play. That is the loop video that is in the museum, and you see that the reconstruction starts from a survey of this wooden model of a sort of twin of Mercurio, that is the brig Signe, that is now in Paris, and the survey has been done with photogrammetry method. I don't know if anybody knows about photogrammetry. Photogrammetry is a method that allows to have measurements of objects, and so point cloud and then the final 3D model, the mesh model, by the use of photography. So taking a lot of pictures all around the subject, all around the object, and processing them with photogrammetry softwares, you can have a final result like a point cloud. This is another way to scan an object, that is with a laser scanning. This is the final result, that is a point cloud, and from the point cloud comes a mesh model, and here's the mesh with the texture. So this model from photogrammetry and the other from the laser scanning has been combined with this other model that has been done following the constructive plans that are these drawings, constructive plans of the model of the senior. So always the twin vessel of the Mercurio, and this is the model from the constructive plans. Here is a capture screen of the Rhinoceros software, the 3D for 3D modeling, and this is the final 3D model in white, and that has been added with some details that comes from these drawings. These drawings are all the ornaments of the Mercurio, like here the head of the gods, and here in the stern the rear of the boat, and here the ornaments around windows or in the bow. Here you see the model of these ornaments. And at the end, now you see the final hypothesis of the reconstruction, that is so that combines the reconstruction from the photogrammetry survey, the reconstruction from the laser scanning, the reconstruction from the construction plans, and then the details from the drawings of Mercurio ornaments. This is the model with all the materials, and that's something that I like to make you notice. Here in the lower part of the hull is all a cladding. The lower part was clad with copper tiles, just to make the hull more waterproof, so resistant to water. And now you see also all the different type of wood, all the colors, the sails, and I let you see the final reconstruction with the Mercurio sailing. Okay, so as I told before, this model is the combination of the digital model for photogrammetry, from laser scanning, from the construction plans, and the decoration drawings. Here some other pictures of the point clouds. Here the white point cloud, and here with the RGB information. So every point has RGB, so red, green, blue information, and that comes from all pictures that we have taken during the survey. And here the 3D model, the first 3D model from the photogrammetry, that now you see they are not so clean, so we had to combine them with the 3D model from the construction plans, just to have a cleaner model. And this is the final. So let's go with the second installation, that is the interactive reconstructions of the Mercurio. that is here in this touch screen, and that is in the same wall where the other screen with the loop video is installed in the museum. This is a touch screen, so visitors can touch with one finger, with one touch, by clicking and drag. They can turn around the model, so there's an orbit camera that turn all around the Mercurio. And then there is there are also user interface buttons, and by clicking them, you can change scene. This means that you can switch visualization of the model from realistic to white. This is the white one, and also you can turn it around. This is me playing with the with the installation, and also you can zoom and see better all the details of the hull and materials. This installation was developed by Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is a cross-platform cross-platform, for developing games, video games, with real-time technology. Cross-platform means that Unreal can develop application or games for all the platform, like Windows, Mac OS, Linux, but also mobile platform like Android, iOS, or also games for web. And the real-time technology means that the rendering is real-time, like in gaming. And real-time means that here, if you see what you see is a continual rendering in every frame. So if there are 30 frames per second, there are 30 rendering per second. Well, the language is C++, but it's possible also coding with Blueprint. In the next slide, you will see what Blueprint means. This is the interface of the Unreal Engine. As you see, there's a 3D environment here, and you recognize the model of Mercurio here with all the water. And here there is all the material palette. We had to develop a lot of materials with the experts, just to have the more exact material to the model. And here there's the list of all the object in the scene. And here there's the place where you change parameters and other stuff. And you see here that there's a giant human inside the boat. And this is because we use the third-person character. Here there is the preview of the camera. And as you know, I don't know if you play video games, but you know that there's different video games. There are video games in first person and video games in third person, like Tomb Raider or something like this. And usually the third person character games has a camera that follows the character. And in this case, we stuck the character in the middle of the boat, so the camera orbit all around, and you touching the screen, you make move this camera all around this character, but the character is invisible in the game. So you play, you turn the camera around the boat. And here an example of blueprint for the material. This is the wooden material, and this is an example of blueprint coding. Blueprint means that there are nodes or objects linked to other objects. And this is the material palette with the base color, metallic, component, specular, roughness, normal. And all these are connected to a texture, so an image, and all together make a material. For example, you see here in the base color, there's a texture of the wood. There's a number here for the specular and the roughness. And here there's a texture for the normal map, and that make the surface irregular. So the surface is more realistic. And another example of material is this one, that is if I remember well, is the brass of the bell, of the Mercurio. And as you see here, you see the base color is a color, a warm color. The metallic component is white because if it's white, it's metallic. If it's black, it's not metallic. So metallic and specularity is white, and there's also the normal map for the scratches, for example. And yeah, it was a very difficult study, this one, for the materials with the experts, and we try to make the more realistic reproductions. And at the end, the third installation is the interactive Rollino di Bordo. As I told you before, the Rollino was a book, was a document, and the interaction is by a touch screen. This is different touch screen from the previous one, because the previous one was a touch screen connected to a Windows computer. And so we developed a Windows app, while this one is a touch screen that is a so-called all-in-one device that is a sort of big tablet. It is a touchscreen with the operating system installed, and in this case was Android. So for this installation, we developed an Android app to turn the pages. As you see here, there are also some user interface buttons. And oh, sorry, I stopped the video for a moment. As you see here, by clicking and dragging the corner of the page, visitors can turn the page. And by clicking here the buttons with the magnifying glass icon, they can zoom. Now you see the example here. They can zoom and see better all the details of the pages. Here this is the first page where there's all the crew and the details here. And by clicking these other buttons with the arrow, you can go back to the beginning. And also here, there's an interesting thing. Obviously, at that time, the ID card was not available. So every person was described also. Yeah, they wrote the names and where they come from. But also the age, the color of hair, the height, the color of eyes, nose, mouth, and chin, just to have a sort of description of the person. And it was really interesting to read all these details. Yeah. So this app was developed with another software that is Unity 3D, that is the direct competitor of the previous one, so Unreal Engine. And also Unity 3D is also a cross-platform game engine with real-time rendering, so exactly the same. But the language is quite different. It's not C++, but it's C#. And this is the interface of Unity. It's quite similar to the Unreal one. You see here in the middle the 3D environment. Well, this is not exactly a 3D. It was a 2D because the pages are flat images. And here you see the user interface with the buttons. And here all the pages that are inside the scene. And here you see a script called book. And this is a script that with all the functionality of turning pages and all other stuff like shadows and the clipping plan and other stuff. And here you see the buttons. Here the buttons with the magnifying glass. You see here the script of the button that manage the change of scene and go to the zoom of page 1, that is this scene. So from the the visitors, when they click this button, they switch the scene. So from the scene where the book is, they go to the other scene where the zoom of the pages are. Thank you. It was the last slide.
Thank you very much. I was not able to turn on my mic. So thank you very much for all this stuff. It was so nice to see this very virtual tour scene from the point of view who made it. So, and see also which were the issues and which were the problem that you have to solve. So I would like to ask to our participants if they have questions, curiosity, whatever. Otherwise, I have a question myself that maybe is an annoying question. Not an annoying question, but it is a practical question about the sustainability of the exhibition. So while you were projecting, designing everything, how much did you consider the fact that technology and tools are going to be to be very affected by the use, so start to be not so performant, with a performance less interesting than the day of the inauguration of the museum, and if this is a problem, or we have to leave in the domain of the museum management and don't think about it while we are designing it. So if it's something that we have to keep in mind. This was one question, and the second question is about the feedback that you had so far. So if you had, and how is going in Caorle?
May I answer to the second one?
Yeah.
According to the feedback also on Facebook, and also left directly in the museum, it seems that people entering the museum are very, very happy of exhibition. The problem is the museum is that they have few visitors, because the Polo didn't spend money to make marketing, so the museum is not known, the exhibition is not known. Also, the city of Caorle doesn't disseminate the new reality they have outside the center of Caorle. So this is a pity, but this is a real problem. And so now, also with these two European projects, we are trying to use the socials to let this museum more popular. So the answer is yes. It likes so much, but too few people. So they entering the museum.
But it is not related with the tour itself. It is much more a structural problem of the museum. So the national superintendents, I think.
It's a problem of marketing. They don't spend. They don't think marketing is important. It is essential, because if you don't know that the museum exists, and you don't know, in this case, that this museum is different from the others, you have no chance.
Sorry, I just wanted to add it because I saw the exhibition. I went the very day of inauguration, and I wanted to go back another time to have the time to enjoy more, because really I had the feeling that I want to see every single frame, every single part, because you understand that the idea that I got, that they were not installation or additional 3D stuff and whatever to show off a little bit more, but it was the way to understand how the ship sank, the story of it, and so on. So what I found very interesting, that the virtual tour is something that is not only adding a gamish, fashionable, adding thing to the visit, but it is the visit itself. Sorry, Cristina.
No, I was just following the discussion, but you point out a very important topic, and this is what I was trying to explain in the beginning, that technology cannot be just something that to the exhibition. Is something that must be designed in a way that is absolutely integrated with the objects and with the elements that you are exploring. And the most important thing is that it must give exactly what you felt. The idea that the museum is a place where you have to go back and to explore more and to discover more details that you cannot see with just one visit. And this, I think, is also the main reason that justify when you decide to go towards a multimedia installation, because it's true, it can be a little bit more expensive than other solutions, but I know a lot of different museums that they were really expensive, also if they did not have any technology involved. And if I can say, the durability of the installations, it depends a lot from how good they are designed. So if you are able to select the right elements and you try to push the institution to choose the exact tools that are supposed to be in a 24/7 employment. So you have tools that are done on purpose in order to be there for a long time. It's like any other regular technology that you use in a museum. I think that even for, I don't know, the heating system, if you created a heating system that is necessary and you make it properly done, it stays for a while, but it needs still maintenance like any other thing. And I think that nowadays we cannot deal with communication without deciding to deal also with something that is in our life, that is part of our life. We are used to interact with people, communicate and learn and be creative through technology. And I think that if you are in the condition that you don't have a computer anymore and you don't have a phone anymore, so you cannot connect with the world, you have to buy a new one. Yeah. So it's I know it's not a fulfill explanation, but yeah. I think it's something that, for example, in Italy, it's absolutely important and necessary in that direction, because we have so much heritage to show to the people that if you don't find a way to involve and attract, it's really difficult to survive as an institution. Yeah. And I think that it works, because
yeah, I'm very agree with that. And in fact, if sometimes this is a thing that we will speak in the next lessons also with the guys and during the lab. I'm not a fan of a completely distant experience of a museum. So a virtual museum that you can explore from your house. I think is a good tool. We were very happy to have these things during the lockdown, for example. But also I read more than one opinion that the people at the end don't like too much if they don't have a real visit of the site, or if they don't are how do you say, they don't have in program to visit the site. So you have a nice experience with virtuality if there is a degree of engagement with the real visit that you are going to do or that you have to do. But in that case, the material are there in the nearby window, in your case. So it is something that after you had through a let's say, traditional way to exhibit. You had this more information to this immersive information. And in relating to the fact that you were saying the problem that we have too much to show, this will have been also or could be for the future a way to let the museum to have much more object displayed using virtual tour inside the museum itself, and so there is a sort of virtual rotation of the collection, not only physical one, so they can take out from the stores less material and integrate them with the virtual. So there is a completely different way to manage collection and rotation of collection inside the museum. Oh, I'm seeing that there are also a couple of very interesting questions from the student, Yashashwini and Beth. I would like also, if you want, I read it, but please turn on your mic and interact directly if you want.
Maybe I can ask this question. Is talking about the 3D models.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the models were used also for simulation analysis from the archaeologists, not from us. The simulation generally need mesh format,
Yes.
not point cloud. Oh, yeah, yes. Obviously, from the point cloud model, point cloud is a step to have also the mesh model. So also the mesh model was available. So yeah.
It's okay, Yashashvini. I don't. Yeah.
I just wanted to know because I have a laser data, but yeah, I'm not involved in photogrammetry, and I actually working on simulating a series of tank system, which was supposed to be a floodwater harvesting system. So my simulation is related to how the water used to enter and to what degree. So for me, the challenge was actually with the laser data, I can't make a 3D model. Then I was supposed to, I just went ahead with the measurements provided. So that's.
Oops, the connection.
Yeah, the connection is sometimes.
Is a mesh model out of cloud point data. So I just wanted to know, did you guys actually use cloud point data as well as photogrammetry to create a mesh for the 3D model? And can that be used for simulation? For example, I'm doing it in ANSYS. It's a simulation software.
Well, actually, if I can reply to this question.
Yeah, that's it.
That phase was a little bit tricky because maybe you understood that the point cloud was coming from a reproduction of a small model that was built from plans that was found in a book. And the 3D model that was actually built in rhinoceros in the beginning was also built on the plants. But then what we discovered was that putting together the point cloud and the mesh that came out from the point cloud was conflicting with the 3D model that we created from the plants. So based on the fact that the small model was a kind of, I don't know if it was just a similar one. Actually, it was not exactly the same. This is what we are telling in the video that was mounted behind the reconstruction, because these bricks were twins bricks. And the one that we found in the Paris Museum was the other one, the Cygne, not the Mercurio. So we had to confrontate with the archaeologists and all the historians to understand which transition we had to do between the two different models. And we get to the final model mixing all the data together, also putting together the only few rare images that we had of the decoration of the Mercury. And in the video, what we tried to explain was exactly that. What we did with the small model, what we did with the polygonal reconstruction, and how we match all the details together in order to have an hypothetical version of the Mercury. It's clear that it's a reconstruction, and it has to deal with things that are not perfectly fitting together. So it was, at the end, it was a work that was concluded with the opinion of the archaeologist about what was the most close to the reality model. And for the other question, that was about the materials. It was more a technical question. Maybe Paola can answer this about how to create bed fisheries using Maya.
Because I don't know what degree you used, custom material specification, or use the built-in existing material descriptions. To find good ways to adjust. Well, yeah, they were material.
They were all
they were, yeah, they were all customized, and we used substance painter just to start from for example, the wooden material. We started from a custom material in a substance painter, and then we import these all materials from substance to Unreal Engine. And in Unreal Engine, we also make some adjustments, so they are totally custom material.
Also because we were all the time working in parallel with the expert. So as soon as we had products that was almost finished, we were confronting with them, and they were giving us images or correcting details. We had a long story about the copper on the bottom of the boat, because in the beginning there was a misunderstanding. We didn't know exactly, because we are not clearly experts of the maritime archaeology, so we try to find a shape that was similar to the model, to the small model in the museum. But then someone saw the image. We were always confronting between each other, and they say, no, this is not possible, because the way that they were attaching the copper plates on the boat was not that one. So we had to redo everything because of that. And this was an ongoing process all the time for any of the installation, because clearly in the beginning, for example, we didn't know exactly how object that was keeping the powder for the pistol, and then suddenly one day, and it was very close to the opening, Carlo found an image that was showing the exact shape of the object, and he sent it to us, and then we asked to the 3D artist to modeling very fast, close to that image, and we changed the animation at the very last moment. And this was almost for everything, for the fabrics of the uniform that was reconstructed with a 3D software that is done on purpose for fabrics. And we were showing the result to the expert of the uniforms, and he was selecting with us the perfect green and the shape and how it was disposed on the body of the model and so on.
Yes, I want to add that this is not a game, so every detail is a fruit of discussion among scholars, and each category of object needed a specialist specialize on that category of object. For example, we had an expert on uniforms of that period, because uniformology is a discipline, a very important discipline. Then we had the expert in arms, artillery, and so the same for the ship construction, the same for the written documents. So it's every detail is fruit of discussions, and nothing is invented. So nothing is a sort of game. Also, if at the end probably something it has a great appeal, so can become something like a game. But under this game, there is a story of research. I think this is very important because we don't have to use digital for yes, to create games, in my opinion, but to disseminate, to communicate in the most attractive and yes, more in better way, but following always a rigorous process.
This is why they call this kind of installation serious games.
Mm-mm.
So they use instruments that are done for the games, but with all the expertise and the precision.
Yeah, it is interesting what you are saying and related to the lessons that we will have on Thursday. That is about video games in archaeology, and we will learn from Angus more how video games can be very serious also when they tackle, when they go towards methods of learning. So these things goes very in parallel. So I think we will find a strong connection between what we saw today and this presentation on how the video games world, the video games with platform and apps and so on mobile, is going on today towards archaeology. So
if I can add just one sentence about what you were saying before about virtual reality, because you were saying, and I totally agree with you, that sometimes it seems that is not really meaningful to use virtual reality, and I agree with that. But what I think is absolutely a different condition is when you have what is called intangible heritage. So when you have something that is not possible to see, when it's not possible to visit, when it's not possible for everybody, besides, for example, the divers that can go down and see the under the sea site. In this case, I think that it's really worth to use virtual reality. That is absolutely uncomfortable, not easy to use. Sometimes it's not working properly, but I hope that in the future they will develop better tools. And in that case, if you can see an Egyptian tomb with virtual reality that you will never be able to see in any other way, I think it's worth. And it's really also exciting and amazing to be in a 360 environment that you can check and see from very, very small distance and so on. This is the only way we intend virtual reality. On the other hand, we, as you have seen, virtual reality tools for us is something completely different. That just let us match 3D model in a real time use.
Now, thank you very much for the presentation, and your presentation spoke on that way. So we saw how the virtual reality was explored and presented to understand how the sinking and the shipwreck moment happened, and and also to have better strategies to dig and to do the documentation underwater. And on the other hand, offering there is this idea of offering to the public an experience that would never been possible for 99.9% of the population. And then it is exactly in that way that is not anymore a tool, but is a discipline. The question that we are asking ourselves from yesterday, that you go beyond a processual way of gathering data. So if a 3D is another way to take a picture of the object, much more detail with the third dimension, blah, blah, and it stops there, okay, it's nice, we can have it, we will add new material, and sometimes this new material is very helpful for restoration, for calculation of spaces, blah, blah, blah. If someone of the students have already worked on museum, museology experience, we often use 3D objects for calculating spaces, shades, how you have to put objects. So for design, for example, the object, the museum case and so on. But if we stop there and we pretend that we will like that the public go through the internet and go to the object only because they are 3D, there is no, we are missing a point. We need to provide a strong narrative. In your case, the narrative is the archaeological narrative. Is exactly the narrative. I know your work, the work of Carlo, the book. So what you have in the virtual tools is the narrative that you have in the scientific book. With all the footnotes, all the details, and all the reference that you need. So it's another way to tell the complexity of the history, the complexity of what happened with the Mercurio. So for that reason, I think it is very, is the way that we should go on this direction. So thank you very much again. We are already 4:45, so I think we have to move to the next step of the summer camp. Otherwise, our guests are stuck in front of the video 7 hours a day, too much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Paola,
you.
Cristina, Carlo, really thank you very much. And as we said this morning, we hope that will be possible to visit the museum in real and have this bodily experience of the virtual tool that you made. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Grazie.
So, Elisa, for technical reason, I think I stopped the registration.
Yes, of course.